Good afternoon. Hello, girlie. I'm just saying hello to my Labrador who likes to say hello. Off now. Good afternoon and welcome to Back Away from the Donkey. I'm Duncan and this is Baft Books, as I don't think anybody's really calling it. And so any snorty noises in the background will be my Labrador, who I think has got there. I think there's already a blooper that I'm going to have to put at the end anyway for you. But this is the video. I'd already planned that I probably wouldn't be doing many of these sort of things, which is what the kids like to call a haul. But I like to call it pickups because I just really hate the phrase haul. Where I live on an island in the north of Scotland. So we do not have many bookshops. We've got about one. And we've got a few charity shops and that's about it. So really, book shopping in shops I don't do very often. So occasionally I wander around the charity shops and just see what they've got, and I do sometimes manage to pick up a few things. Any of you waiting for the science fiction, I'm afraid you're going to be sadly disappointed because that's one thing that I find very rare on the ground locally. So, but there might be one or two surprises here. But first of all, I'm going to show you a little bit of clips of what I did. So I thought I'd do some video around a few little clips of my town, and then there's a couple of bits in the bookshops, which you can see. So I'll leave you with that for a few moments. Now you watch that, I'll start. I will start by saying that if you saw the clip with the picture of the Clash of Kings, George R. Martin from the Game of Thrones book, I very nearly picked that one up, but I didn't because I own a different copy of it. But that was the 1998 or 99 originally first edition with the cover, and the cover I really did like. But I've got multiple copies of lots of books and I didn't really need that. And so I think the one I've got back here, that's the version I've already got. I'll show you there. Not as good as the version that we saw in the shop there, but I just thought I'd better not pick that up. But anyway, in that shop there's a few other bits that I managed to pick up, which is quite interesting, which I thought I'd have a talk about. The first one I picked up was Patrick Rothfuss in the Name of the Wind, which I've heard lots of very good things about, and apparently got nice flowery prose, and I'm into a good bit of flowery prose, like the best of people. and I said I've heard it because I know there's a sequel to it and there's a third book coming out. I know lots of people keep moaning about how long he's taking to do these things, but it doesn't really worry me. So that's one that that's the first one I picked up. The other one I saw in there, well, the other two I saw in there was they had two Ian Banks books. We had Wit and The Bridge. Ian Banks, who I think sadly died in about 2003 of esophageal cancer. He wrote a lot of science fiction under Ian M. Banks. The culture novels are his most famous ones. I never really got on with them. I think I read the first one and it was okay for me. But he also did some non-science fiction stuff which he wrote under Ian Banks. His most famous one was his first book, The Wasp Factory, which I read and absolutely hated. But I read another one of his called The Crow Road, which I really, really loved. Which has got the best first line of any book ever, which was, I'm trying to remember it now. It was the day my grandmother exploded. That's the first line of the book. One of the best first lines of any book. But that's a really good book. And I've not read much of his other stuff, so I saw these two in here. And it said 20p each, 20 Scottish pence. So they were well worth getting. Then I briefly moved on to another shop. And I found Ian Forster's A Passage to India. It's meant to be a classic, never read it. It's about India, about colonial Britain in India, and it's meant to be sort of, I can remember there was a TV series back in the early 80s about it. But yeah, it's meant to be a classic, so I picked that up. It's a nice Penguin edition as well. Which I said, Penguin edition's always worth having. It's under the Penguin Modern Classics line, I think. And I said this version was published in 85. So yeah, so it's an 85, so one of the older Penguins. The other book I found in there, which I found really interesting, was Alex Haley's Roots. This is obviously the edition that came out when the miniseries came out, which I think was 1979. It was a huge, huge event if you're not as old as me, and a big thing. And it was obviously about Alex Haley's family he'd researched, and the story of his ancestors being brought as slaves across from Africa and their lives all the way through. There was some controversy about whether what Alex Haley had researched was true or fiction, but I didn't think that really mattered because it was a really, really interesting story, and I've always wanted to read it and find that one and the original version. Said it's got the international TV sensation written on the front. So yeah, I'd be interested to read that at some point. So I don't know when I'm going to get to it. And the first place I went to, I said we got 2 or 3 of them. This one's actually a second-hand furniture shop. It's a charity. The books are technically, except for some local ones, are free, except you just make a donation, which obviously you're going to make. So on those, that's where I've found some oddly interesting things. But the first thing I found there was a Bernard Cornwell book, which is Harlequin, which, as far as I can understand, is the first of his Grail series. So luckily it's the first book. And I said, I do like the cover. If I show you the cover again. The cover is really interesting. Need to find out who that's by. This edition, I said it feels old, was published in 2000. It actually feels older than that. I don't know why, it's just because it's been hanging around a bit. But yeah, from 2000. I think that's the first of his Grail series. I could be wrong, so I've not done enough research on it yet. I've got his Saxon series. I've got 4 or 5 of the books of that. I've not actually read them yet. Okay, I've watched the TV series Last Kingdom, but I've not got around to reading those yet. Another book I found to add to my collection was P.D. James, Cover Her Face, which is one of the Dalgleish mysteries. I've never actually read any P.D. James. I've heard good things about it. It's not the longest of books, and I think even if it's part of the sort of Dalgleish books, as a separate story, it should work. So that'd be a nice thing for me to start with. And this was actually a mid-80s or 90s public version. Sorry, man looking at front cover of book. 1962, which I think is the original publication date, and I can't see when this it was. 85. So that's the version was 85. And what I actually like about the cover is if you look closely, I might see if I can get a picture on the screen as well. There is a scone or a scone and 4 jam tarts. How more British can you get than that? Okay. And another one that I picked up in that shop was a James Bond novel, Casino Royale by Ian Fleming. I've not read this one. I've read a couple of Ian Fleming's Bond books. I think I read Spy Love Me, You Only Live Twice. I may have read Moonraker, but I've not read Casino Royale. So, a nice short book, and I might actually pick that one up and read that one quite soon, because it's a nice quick little book and it should be fun. And then we come to my final pickup, which is a Derek Longdon hardback book of The Cat Who Came In From the Cold. Now, probably a lot of American viewers, if I have any American people watching me, don't know who Derek Longdon was. He was a writer. He started off writing about his, like, almost autobiographical memoirs about him and looking after his wife who was ill, and then he went into some books about, he started to rescue cats and about the life with the cats and things. And I used to be a cat owner. We up until about 3 years ago we had 3 cats, and they sadly all died within about 2 years of each other, which was quite upsetting. We haven't got any at the moment because our little Gizmo, who's my little Yorkshire Terrier over there, he's a rescue dog, and we got him last year, and I'm not sure he'd put up with cats that much at the moment, but I do miss cats. And he's got a lovely writing style. My wife really loves him as well. And this was nice. It's a nice first edition of the hardback. Cute little cat on the front. Picture of the author on the back. And this is the first of his cat books. He's got some books beforehand, as I said, or almost memoirs. So I think that's all I managed to pick up. But for me, locally, that is quite a lot of books to pick up locally. If I normally pop out, I would normally, if lucky, manage to pick up one. I said I don't really go looking around them too often because we don't get much like that. Occasionally we might have fates or tabletop sales that are sometimes worth going to, but you know, to buy locally is just quite difficult for me. Anyway, I hope you've managed to get through that, and I hope some of these will interest you. If you've read any of these, I'd like to hear your opinion on them. I said the Ian Banks ones, I've not read either of those. So I've already ever read one of his non-science fiction ones, which was Crow, which I loved. But anything else, if you see anything there. So that's it for this pickup video. I said there probably won't be more. I've got one will be coming in a few days because recently it was my birthday, and I've got a few things I had for my birthday from my wife and things, and I thought you might be interested in those. So I'm going to probably make a video on that as well. But yeah, don't expect lots of pickups or haul videos, as the youngsters and trendsetters are calling it, for me. Anyway, for the moment, goodbye.